Toprak Razgatlioglu was signed to be dangerous. The problem is that the men who build his bike have now admitted he frightens them. Not a rival team, not a pundit. The people paid to read his data and keep him in one piece said it out loud this week about a quality that helped make him an exceptional prospect. A 3-time World Superbike champion was brought in to make a Pramac garage dangerous. Now that garage is describing what it feels like to watch him work. So what are they seeing on those screens that nobody in the grandstand can see? And why does a team that paid for this suddenly sound like it wants less of it? Understand why this is not just another rookie story. Yamaha signed Toprak as a long-term development bet. Yamaha and Pramac said they chose Toprak for his talent, speed and sporting value, not marketing, while his extreme braking style remained one of the abilities that made him an exceptional prospect. Which is why the wording coming out of his own box lands so strangely. You do not buy a weapon and then describe the noise it makes as a worry. And the man who said it is not some nervous newcomer. Alberto Giribuola is Toprak's crew chief, and he did not end up at Pramac by accident. He walked away from KTM and from Enea Bastianini, specifically to take this job. Before that, he ran the garage for Andrea Dovizioso through the Ducati years, when Dovizioso dragged Marc Marquez to the final round and came within touching distance of a title. In a GP-owned interview, Giribuola summarised that period this way. With Dovi, against that Marquez, it was almost a title. This is a man with a calibrated sense of what normal looks like at the sharp end of a MotoGP grid, which is what makes his description of Toprak worth stopping on. Comparing the two riders in a GP-owned interview, Giribuola said Toprak sometimes works pure magic and that he enters certain corners so aggressively that even we get scared. Even we, not the fans, not the commentators, the engineers with the telemetry open in front of them. And look at who he set that against, because he was not measuring Toprak against some overwhelmed rookie. He was measuring him against Dovizioso. So what are they actually watching? Toprak has never hidden the mechanism, and once he explains it, the fear stops sounding like exaggeration. I am always very aggressive when I start braking. I don't like soft braking. This isn't my style. Fine. Every hard braker says a version of that. But then he explains how he knows he has done it correctly. When I feel the rear wheel coming up, I know I'm braking hard. If the rear wheel isn't up, I know I need to brake harder the next lap. Sit with that for a second. The rear wheel leaving the ground is not a mistake he is rescuing. It is the gauge. For Toprak, the rear wheel coming off the tarmac is a reference point rather than an automatic reason to back away. If it does not happen, he says he brakes harder next lap. That is what Giribuola sits behind. Not a rider who occasionally overcooks an entry. A rider whose self-correction runs in the wrong direction. And oh yeah, there is one more part of this that changes the picture. The garage that now says it gets scared had already asked him to stop. Before the season even began, ahead of the Buriram test, the instruction from the Pramac side was not subtle. Brake a little earlier, they told him, and just concentrate on corner speed and corner exit. Please, that word was in there. It goes further than one polite request. Toprak wanted to bring Phil Marin with him, the crew chief who guided him through the World Superbike title years and understood the style from the inside. Pramac turned it down. Toprak admitted at the time that he did not have the standing in MotoGP to force the issue. He asked for the man who spoke his language and was given Giribuola instead. Then came another layer of support. Yamaha's rider performance advisor is Andrea Dovizioso, a renowned late breaker who advises the full Yamaha roster. Giribuola's own former rider, so the structure around Toprak includes a Pramac crew chief and a Yamaha-wide advisor, both tasked with helping him adapt. In a GP-owned interview, Toprak explained how that is going. Dovizioso is explaining to me how to brake, and I understand his instructions. He added, in the first phase of braking, I tend to be too aggressive and end up locking up. And then the line that should worry Yamaha more than any lap time. When I follow another rider, I tend to be aggressive and make mistakes. That is a rider describing his own greatest asset as a fault. Then came the Saxon ring, which Toprak called his worst weekend after struggling to adapt to the circuit's asymmetric Michelin tyres on a layout he had not raced since 2014. Toprak qualified 18th, missing the last transfer place into Q2 by 7/10. He finished 17th in the sprint. In the race, he came home 15th, the last rider still running, 6.611 seconds adrift of the man in front. It was the third time in 4 races he had scored points, and the German return was a single one. At one stage, he was passed by Cal Crutchlow, a stand-in riding Johann Zarco's injured seat, and the substitute stayed ahead for 6 laps before Toprak took the place back. Here is the part that breaks the easy explanation. Those results came while he was trying to adapt, but Pramac also cited tyre behaviour, front-end issues, engine braking, and the Yamaha's limits. Toprak has been working to brake earlier and carry more corner speed, but the evidence does not isolate that change as the cause of his results. This remains a story about a champion adapting to a difficult bike. There is no sourced evidence that the team is systematically removing his defining ability. That is why Giribuola's line matters. Listen to it again with everything else attached. He is describing aggression that can produce magic, but can also frighten the garage. The interview does not say those flashes appear only when Toprak rejects instructions, or that the fear is recognition rather than crash risk. So let us be honest about where this leaves Pramac. They did not sign a rider who was ever going to calm down. They knew they were signing an unusual talent, then paired him with an experienced MotoGP crew chief and Yamaha's rider advisor to help him adapt to the category. The adaptation has not produced consistent results yet. Toprak is learning, but Pramac says he is still adapting to the tyres, the bike and MotoGP technique, while Yamaha works to improve its motorcycle. He has one advantage in this sport, and it is the one that makes his own engineers flinch. Make no mistake, this remains a development challenge. Pramac can keep helping Toprak adapt while Yamaha develops its motorcycle, or give him more freedom to preserve the braking style that made him exceptional. The evidence does not show those goals are mutually exclusive, and the longer the process takes, the more of this season will pass before the results improve. The real concern in that garage is not simply the rear wheel in the air. It is whether Toprak can preserve his braking identity while adapting it to a MotoGP bike. So should Pramac let Toprak ride his way and live with it? Or is smoothing him out the only path that ends in results? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now.